Hi, welcome back to Study Hall. My name is Jill Zimorski, and in this series, I share tips and hints about things that I found helpful for me while I was preparing for my wine certification exams with both the Court of Master Sommeliers and the Wine and Spirits Education Trust. Now, if you're just tuning into Study Hall, you may or may not be familiar with a podcast that I also have on the Somm TV network, and it's called Reading and Drinking. Every week I review a new book about wine and I share my thoughts, whether it's something that you definitely need to have on your bookshelf, whether it's worth a read and a borrow, or if maybe you should steer clear and save your money. I'm combining both Study Hall and Reading and Drinking today because I wanted to share with you a book that I thought was one of the most impactful things in my progression towards the Master Sommelier diploma. Anyone who's ever taken upper level exams has probably encountered some level of self-doubt or a crisis of confidence or just insecurity. It affects all of us. One of the things that I really struggled with, particularly with tasting, was trusting my instincts, believing in myself, and having the confidence to be successful at that exam. I had been given advice prior to that by my friend and fellow Master Sommelier, Emily Wines. And she was tasting with me and she would kind of assess my ability for blind tasting. And she made the assessment that many others had made before, which was that I was accurately assessing the wine, but I didn't trust myself. I didn't believe the process. I would second guess, I would doubt, and then I wouldn't call the wine correctly. And she had suggested maybe I seek out a performance coach. My dad is acquaintances with a sports psychologist named Dr. Bob Rotella. And I went to the University of Virginia. Bob Rotella works and has worked with athletic teams at the University of Virginia, and he's written a bunch of books. And my parents sent me this book in particular. It's called How Champions Think in Sports and Life. I have read this book since I received it, cover to cover, multiple times. It's full of underlined passages, and it really helped me in a lot of ways. Now, full disclaimer, this man is a sports psychologist. I played competitive sports growing up, and so it really spoke to me. He works primarily with professional golfers, but has worked with professional athletes, musicians, really running the gamut of expertise levels and various levels of fame. When I first got this book, I opened it up, and there's all these different chapters, but a couple in particular I wanted to kind of point out. But the very first chapter is entitled What LeBron James Has in Common with Pat Bradley. Now, you're probably familiar with LeBron James. Definitely one of the, if not the best, but one of the best basketball players of all time. And he doesn't strike me as someone who suffers from any insecurity whatsoever. But it turns out, you're not hatched being an expert at whatever it is you do. You have to work at it. And that's something that people from all over the spectrum of entertainment, arts, sports, sommeliers have in common, is it takes a whole lot of hard work. The topics that I thought were most helpful to me were the idea of, one, having a confident self-image. People tend to become what they think of themselves. So you have to visualize, if you are preparing for an exam, you have to visualize yourself passing that exam. I wanted to become a master sommelier. I envisioned that I would become a master sommelier, and lo and behold, I have become one. Now, it's not that simple. Visualization is just one technique in the whole spectrum of how you achieve your goals. And there's tips in this book, things like forgetting your mistakes, realizing that failures are going to happen, but if you focus on the positive things, remember those, and don't dwell on the negative, let those go behind you. That's going to be a really key component to potential future success. In addition to having a confident self-image, one of the really kind of profound things that this book struck with me, profound chords, was a chapter on respecting your talent. And again, if you're not familiar with golf, a lot of these athletes might not be familiar to you, but there's a passage in here about Greg Norman, who's an Australian professional golfer, winemaker, and he had a mantra. It was lyrics that he adapted from a popular song when he was a kid about just keep singing. No, it wasn't from Finding Nemo, but he adapted it to keep on swinging, don't stop swinging. I adapted it to keep on tasting, don't stop tasting. And it might sound silly, it might sound childish, But you know what? This sort of belief and recognition and respect in your ability and what you've worked so hard to achieve, it's really, really important. Dr. Rotella talks about commitment, perseverance, and habit because it's great to visualize. It's great to respect your abilities and your talent, but that only takes you so far. The key is you really have to have a singular focus and work really hard and devote your time and your energy to becoming an expert at your craft, whatever it is that your destiny or your path that you've set for yourself. And the ultimate goal, and I found this to be so true with blind tasting, is that with practice and commitment and hard work, it becomes routine. So when it comes time to perform, when it comes time to blind taste, your subconscious takes over and you are able to remember and talk about and accurately assess what's in front of you without hearing that little voice in your head of doubt, of second guessing, of a lack of confidence. Now, this book wasn't just impactful for me. After passing the exam in 2018, myself and other new master sommeliers were interviewed for a periodical about things that were successful for us. And it turns out my good friend Justin Timsit, who I passed with, we both mentioned this book. We both recognized that this is a hugely it's a very mental undertaking, and you need focus and you need discipline and you need confidence and belief in yourself, and sometimes you have to outsource that and you have to get help from somebody else to help build that ability up. And so you can take it from the two of us. We found it to be incredibly helpful. So if, in this time where there's not really exams that are being given, and you're trying to stay focused and you're trying to prepare yourself and looking for additional ways to strengthen yourself as a candidate, this book, I could not recommend it more highly. I think it transcends the wine industry or the sports industry. And I think just for anyone who's trying to excel at their chosen craft, this book has incredible guidelines and suggestions, and it's so logical and so rational, it just makes sense. And it really helped me in my journey, and I think and hope that it could help you with yours.